Konnichiwa minasan. Welcome back to Voices of Kakehashi. I'm Yayant, and today here with me is...
It's Yup from Malaysia here, and it's great to be back again. Today's topic is Japanese culture and society with us, Yup and Yayant. As you watch this video, please do keep in mind that culture is very extensive and there are so many elements to it. We'll just be discussing the basics here today and you'll be able to discover more on your own exchange.
We're going to be talking all about our experiences.
So first, let's talk about a key element of immersing yourself in another society and culture. Communication and interaction. Ohayo gozaimasu.
Ohayo gozaimasu.
Ohayo!
Os!
Did you see the difference between the two cuts?
The Japanese people rely on nonverbal communication, which means that they use tone, gestures, or facial expressions to apply them in their daily life communication. Japanese people are usually very calm, polite, and well-mannered. In formal situations, they would be more laid back and make a lot of jokes with friends when they're having fun or just basically hanging around.
The Japanese have a more indirect style of communication. So Japanese society actually relies on a lot of non-verbal cues and non-verbal context, like your facial expressions and your body language, to actually interpret what you are trying to say. It might be different from what you're used to in your home country if you're more straightforward. It's okay, just keep that in mind, be aware of that, and don't be shy to ask if you don't understand anything.
So here's the reason why I really love the Japanese people. They know how to make you feel warm even if they're trying to reject something. Suppose you're calling one of your Japanese friends to hang out. They would give you the best excuse, the most heartwarming reasons, and compensating phrases to tell you that they cannot come along. And that's why I really love my Japanese friends.
Next, you might find that the Japanese have a slightly different sense of humor. For example, the Japanese society actually doesn't use sarcasm as a form of humor. In fact, it might actually be considered rude to use sarcasm in certain situations as well. The Japanese might not understand sarcasm if you use it because it's not in their culture. So be aware of that as you go along. So, Yayin, what do you think about dialects in Japan?
So just like how you might have different dialects in different areas of your country, Japan has them too. Only Tokyo speaks the standardized Japanese that you have learned back in your country, but there may be a little difference or a huge difference between the Japanese you've learned before, depending on the host community that you're placed in, and I think it might be a huge shock.
But don't worry, because learning Japanese through dialects, or also known as Hogen, is a really fun way of learning Japanese. It also helps you feel closer to your host community and learn more about them. You can also talk about it with your host family or your friends. You can ask for their help in understanding certain terms in your dialect as well. It also makes your exchange experience unique to you because the dialect you will learn is specific only to the area that you live in. So don't be afraid of learning dialects and have fun with it.
It is actually important to focus on the Japanese language during your exchange program because you might be in a host community where people are less exposed to the English language. And if you want to know more about study tips for Japanese, please check out our past video, 7 highly effective ways to study Japanese like a pro. That was a video by me and we've uploaded it on the Voices of Kakehashi YouTube channel. If it's your first time watching these videos, you can check them out too. So now that we've talked about all that, how about digital communication?
The Japanese actually use Line as their main communication app. Even though a lot of people, like the young people especially, they use a lot of social media like Instagram, but you will still mainly be using Line to communicate with your host family, your dorm mates, your classmates, your friends, your LP, your teachers, so on and so forth. Line is actually pretty similar to other messaging apps like WhatsApp, but chances are your country doesn't use Line all that much. So do download it and familiarize yourself with it if you haven't already.
Great, that was a lot, but I hope you guys got them all. So now let's talk about religion in the Japanese society.
There are two main religions in Japan, which are Shinto and Buddhism.
Shinto is believing the way of the Kami-sama, and Buddhism So the majority of Japanese Buddhists believe in Zen Buddhism, soul and afterlife. I think it would be a great experience for you all to visit shrines and temples during your exchange program.
The majority of Japanese people are actually not very religious, but you will find that religion has shaped a huge part of Japanese culture and society as we know it today. So do try to make the most out of being in Japan by visiting their shrines and temples. They are incredibly beautiful and it is going to be really fun visiting them as well. And we are all from different religions, but if you are concerned about that, just think of it as a learning opportunity. Try everything you can and be open-minded.
For example, the omikuji. The omikuji is a fortune-telling paper script that has fortune-telling about your love life or work or business or education or health written. And it's probably your choice to believe them or not, but personally I really think it's fun to actually read about your future in a strip of paper. I may not completely believe it, but I still think the whole omikuji thing is really fun. And you have to pick from a paper strip from a very big box with a lot of other paper strips, a lot of other omikujis. It's definitely worth it to give a try, and I think it's definitely fun. You can read it together with your friends or your host family and they'll tell you, and maybe you can have a little laugh about what you got.
Okay, one last thing. So you might find this similar to what you practice in your home country, or maybe it's different, but you will need to remove your shoes before entering Japanese houses and certain spaces or buildings in Japan. And most of the time, you'll be provided with some indoor slippers to wear, or else it will be fine to proceed with your socks on. And this is to ensure the cleanliness and hygiene of indoor spaces in Japan. And this is also a huge part of Japanese culture. This is also why you will need indoor gym shoes for school. Also remember to never step on tatami mats with any type of shoes on, even slippers, because tatami mats are easily damaged. But socks are fine for tatami mats.
Alright, we hope you learned a lot through this video, and now you're better prepared to adapt to the Japanese culture and society. Understanding Japanese culture and society will enrich your exchange program and help you develop better relationships with others.
Do remember though that Japanese cultural and social norms are definitely not just limited to these, and they can be flexible in certain situations. So do keep an open mind and learn as you go along. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Ja ne!